Storytelling in web design. This is a video that I've been wanting to create for quite some time, but I didn't quite know how to frame it. And so I'm going to use every trick in the book, and the first one is bring us outdoors today in a different environment, and what you'll find through the course of this video is I might even chop and change it a little bit to add some progression and some dynamism to the storytelling. I'm holding this camera up and you can probably see it shake a little bit, so we've got a little bit of that Paul Greengrass camera wobble in there as well. The main reason why I didn't quite know how to frame this video is because I've been getting it wrong all along. When I'm thinking of storytelling in web design, I'm thinking about telling our story and helping it resonate with our audience. But what if there was another way, an easier way to get that instant message across to our clients and our potential customers? And that answer is flip it around. The story's not about you, it's actually about someone or something that they can resonate with at the moment of purchase. In just a moment, I'm going to tell a story about a fictional solar panel company. As you probably guessed it, the story will not be about them. It'll be about one of their customers in the build-up to the process of buying the solution from them. Future customers watching that video will be able to resonate with the problems and the simple storytelling approach that we'll be covering. But before we jump into that story, let's go through some of the basics in storytelling and why it's so important when it comes to all forms of design, including web design. Storytelling in web design is the art of using narrative elements and techniques to engage users, evoke emotions, and guide them through a meaningful and immersive online experience. That was quite a mouthful. It involves crafting a cohesive and compelling story that resonates with the target audience, communicates the brand's message, and enhances the overall user journey on a website. Here are some key elements and strategies to consider when incorporating storytelling in web design. First off, as I mentioned, it's not about you. What we are trying to achieve in our story is to create an engaging, compelling message that resonates with our target audience. We want them to see themselves in the story wherever possible. Purposeful structure. Just like a story has a beginning, middle, and end, a website should have a clear and logical structure. Organize your content in a way that leads users through a narrative flow, with each page or section building upon the previous one. Visual storytelling. Visual elements such as images, videos, and illustrations play a crucial role in storytelling on the web. They can convey emotions, set the mood, and create a narrative atmosphere. Use visuals strategically to support the story and enhance the user experience. Compelling copywriting. Well-crafted copywriting is essential for effective storytelling. Use persuasive and engaging language that captivates the audience. Try developing a consistent tone that aligns with the narrative and your brand identity. And wherever possible, incorporate storytelling techniques like character development, conflict, and resolution to make content more immersive. Emotional appeal. Stories that evoke emotions are more likely to leave a lasting impact. Use storytelling techniques to tap into the audience's emotions, whether it's through relatable characters, inspiring narratives, or compelling visuals. Emotional resonance can create a stronger connection between the user and the brand. And finally, seamless navigation. Ensure that the user can navigate through the website intuitively without getting lost or confused along the way. A seamless user experience allows the story to flow smoothly, keeping the user engaged from start to finish. Just remember that effective storytelling in web design goes way beyond the aesthetics alone. It's about creating that memorable and meaningful experience for users. So at this point, I'm now going to put my money where my mouth is and create a short story for our fictional solar company based in Swansea, UK. Are you sitting comfortably? Let's begin. This is a story about Dave. Yes, I'm not very creative with naming fictional characters. Sue me. Anyway, back to the story. Saturday morning arrived and Dave found himself standing in the kitchen, gazing out of the window at the overgrown hedge. It seemed as though nature was determined to reclaim its territory. With a sigh, he made a mental note to give it one last trim before winter set in. The thought of Barbara mentioning it at halftime during the match that afternoon would be enough of an incentive. His darling wife of 28 years had a knack for bringing up the most trivial of chores when his stress levels were already soaring. As the sun hung low in the sky, its golden rays streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the neatly stacked pile of utility bills on the breakfast bar. Dave knew that the upcoming winter would be challenging, with utility prices soaring and inflation reaching levels not seen since the days when his kids were young. With a resigned sigh, he began sorting through the bills, preparing to file them away in a Saturday routine that became almost a ritual. Amongst a sea of envelopes, his eyes caught sight of a business card for Sunbeam Solar. He subconsciously shook his head and thought back to the day he received it. Dave and Barbara stumbled upon the Sunbeam Solar booth at a local show during the summer. Intrigued, they struck up a conversation with a sales rep who explained how solar energy could help them reduce their utility bills and contribute to a more sustainable future. The idea had lingered in Dave's mind for a while since. However, just the night before, Dave had shared a pint with his friend Mike, known as Mike Forever After, due to his habit of spinning tales about his endeavours. Whether it was the mysterious supercar that he had on backorder that had not arrived yet, or the fact that his son would be the next YouTube superstar. Dave smiled and shook his head. He had no idea what the job title of influencer was, probably some sort of pyramid scheme the poor lad had entangled himself in. However, when Mike mentioned his recent installation of solar panels, Dave couldn't help but take notice. It seemed different from Mike's usual exaggerated stories. Mike went on to explain that he had invested in 10 solar panels and a comprehensive battery storage that had only cost him £9,000. He had projected paying it off within 8 to 10 years, maybe less with the volatile electricity prices that we are seeing at the moment. He praised the Sunbeam Solar team for their efficiency and the hassle-free installation process, which was completed within 2 days. Suddenly, it clicked for Dave. There was a reason why he hadn't just dismissed this as another fairy tale from Mike. Perhaps, for once, Mike's tales held some truth. In a decisive manner, Dave grabbed the Sunbeam Solar business card, marched into the living room, and asked Barbara permission to give Sunbeam a call. So let's run over some of the key points from that video. First of all, we made sure that we have a start, middle, and end. We're actually going back as far as Aristotle's Poetics, which can be defined as the rulebook for storytelling, and we are following that approach. I tried to write the story so the idea crystallizes in Dave's head so that we, the audience, can understand and resonate with the payoff of him making the choice to actually ask his wife permission to make a choice. Aside from my attempt at humour, the idea is that we go on that journey with Dave. We're using other characters in our story as a foil to feed off Dave, so we have his mate Mike. What I try to do is play off Mike's reputation for storytelling and actually bringing that in, so make this particular story more grounded and more believable to our main protagonist. We also have Chekhov's gun. So let's explain Chekhov's gun. You're watching a movie and the camera goes from one of the key scenes in that movie, in Act 1, the first part of the story, and it pans across to a gun mounted on a wall. If that gun is seen prominently within the shot, it needs to have payoff at the end. Essentially, it needs to be fired. Otherwise, that would be seen as a red herring, which can split audiences. And those Star Wars fans among you will probably know what I mean by that. So we need to have that payoff. In my not so critically acclaimed story, we do have the business card. The idea of the business card is that prop that as he sorts through his bills, the card kind of pops out. That's the trigger that sets off his memory of having the conversation before. He's also thinking through and smiling to himself because of the coincidence of seeing that card within 24 hours of having that conversation with his best mate about that very company. The other approach I used, which was metaphorically to set the scene, but also helping with the time of year, was the low hanging sun beaming through the window, the ray of light hitting those bills. Initially, it's created in a mocking tone, the light shining on the bills, but actually through the storytelling, what the sun is shining on is not the bills, but the business card that's nested in among them. The sun is telling Dave to go and buy solar. Just having those little details is always a big favourite of mine. You might be listening to all of this and thinking, okay, fine, but this is not a cinematography course and it's not relevant to web design. What if I told you it was? We don't need to tell the whole story in our websites. In fact, we'd probably have too much information. If I was to ask you what a case study is, case studies are these stories told by the supplier. Sunbeam's perspective of the project, and then the testimonial would be a shorter, truncated version of this story. We also have call to actions. We have the setting the scene on pages where we have our main titles. We need catchy taglines. We need introductory paragraphs that don't send our audience to sleep. So storytelling has a natural flow. Not all storytelling is telling a fairy tale. It is sometimes a more colourful, more approachable, presentable way of outlining facts. Hope that makes sense. This is one of my favourite chapters in this entire web design course. If you've already enrolled to the course, the next chapter will be all about how we can use this storytelling approach in web pages with some examples. If you haven't enrolled on the course, then I suggest you head over and enroll now. I will try and leave a discount code for you as well, so you can catch up. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next chapter.